Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. All right, I already feel a lot of nerves this morning, and I'm kind of shocked by that because I thought yesterday went fairly well. But anyway, for those of you that are joining me this morning, happy Sunday. It's a beautiful day here in California. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, so great way to start the day. Oliver Clark has taken my spot, which he normally does. This is our beanbag chair, and we love it. But he has taken it from me, so we're going to have to share it. So anyway, I thought maybe the best way to start today to kind of calm myself as well, my nerves, is I would like to read a devotional to kind of get the day started, to put us in the mindset of time together that's going to be a little bit based on God and faith. And what I'm wanting to do today is to share the journey that I've been on, my spiritual journey, leading up to, my life as it is today. And so with that being said, let me go ahead and start by reading, and maybe that will settle my nerves a little bit. And for those of you out there, if you could maybe just send some positive calming energy my way, because I am my nervous system's a little bit overactive. Might be from just everything from yesterday, so I'm having to kind of learn to really be mindful of that. So today's devotional is titled Waiting for Him. The Lord is wonderfully good to those who wait for Him and seek Him. So it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. Lamentations 3:25-26. We hurry to work, wait in traffic. Hurry to the bank before it closes, just to wait in line. Hurry to the doctor's office, wait to be called in. Hurry and wait, hurry and wait. All we do is a lot of hurry and wait. Somehow, gaining control over our time and our schedules is more difficult than we ever imagined. We're always in a hurry, and we never like to wait. How can we learn to wait? Even more, how can we learn to wait for God? We always like to think that His timing and ours will match up eventually. Often, it's true. Just as often, it's not. How can you wait in joy and in peace? How can you wait in holiness? The scripture says that it is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. What a great truth. Whenever we truly wait for the Lord, it is a matter of salvation. We're waiting to be saved from loneliness, or from illness, or from heartache. We're waiting to find the victory in life's drama, and we're not sure our 3 little stones will be good enough to knock over the Goliath we're facing. We're not sure, but we have hope. Why? Because we know that the Lord is wonderfully good to those who wait for Him. He knows it's hard for us to wait. He knows we are finite. He knows, and out of greater love for us than we could ever imagine, He waits for the perfect time to offer us salvation. He assures us that the wait is worthwhile. So, this might be a little bit of an emotional day for me. I wasn't really expecting that, but the reason there's emotion there is because my recent healing journey, all of the health things that I kind of encountered, landed me in bed and took me out of a fast-paced, go type of life that that's all I knew. And even as I started to, after I'd had surgery and I started to try and find, further healing, I kept wanting to get back to my life. I kept wanting to just jump right back in, and I kept getting slammed down again, over and over again. It's like I couldn't seem to just get up and get going and get moving, and I just kept getting knocked down over and over and over again. In other words, the Lord's way of saying, just wait. So, I got frustrated. I'm not going to lie. There was frustration. There were moments of anger with God. Why? Why is this happening? Why did you bless me with a wonderful career where I could help people and do what I love, being involved in health and fitness, and then just strip it all away and throw me in bed and leave me unable to do anything that I thought that you wanted me to be doing? And so there was anger, there was frustration, there was this why that just continued to just haunt me. And honestly, what finally happened was I had to just throw myself on the floor, literally speaking, in full surrender to God, to just say, obviously I don't know what to do. Obviously I'm not doing it right, because here I am, I'm at a rock bottom, I don't know what to do, save me, help me. And so in that, he told me to just sit quietly with him and wait for a while and just be with him. And during all of this time where I've been off of social media, I've been spending a lot of time in prayer, in meditation, out in nature, just being with myself and being with God, I have really been able to do some deep soul searching to fully understand what my journey in life sort of has been and what's led me to where I am now. And I've been able to have a lot of deep conversations with God, and I just kind of want to share just briefly on that. So I've had a life of trauma that started when I was an infant, and that type of life basically hardwired me to a life of constantly feeling like I needed to survive, like this constant running and going and escaping, and oftentimes overwhelming feelings, so then needing to numb and escape the feelings that were inside of me, and the anxieties and the depression and just all of it. And I basically found myself living a life of just going from one unhealthy coping mechanism to another. Like when I was younger, I was kind of lost in eating disorders. And then when I became drinking age, it shifted from eating disorders. Okay, well now I found the bottle and found how numbing that could be and how that could shut out the voices, and that could give me courage, and just, all of these ways to cope with just life and things that came my way. And then when that took me down a horrible downward spiral of just sin and just not in a good place, not being kind to others, not just losing track of who I was, not even understanding the concept of love and care and compassion for others. And so when I hit my rock bottom with drinking and my body shut down and I couldn't put alcohol in anymore because my body, with all my health issues that I didn't know I had at the time, were keeping me from being able to drink. So then I got sober. So, and I do believe that, I know that God drew me to that. I was at a rock bottom. I was spinning out of control. I was unhappy. I was miserable. I was suicidal. I was just a complete mess. And I started going to church, and I started filling out those prayer cards, just begging for them to pray for me. And the pastor reached out via text. And anyway, I went from going to church, praying, knowing I had a drinking problem, not knowing how to stop drinking because I didn't know how to even exist in life without having that crutch. I landed in the AA program, started hearing stories that were similar to mine, recognized I wasn't alone anymore in my addiction. Okay, yay. So got the help I needed there, decided to make the decision to quit drinking. Had, God guided me on that, so he guided me to that. So then I stopped drinking. Okay, well now that addiction is done, but now how do I cope? Okay, so then I find myself, I get into the fitness world, which I've always been fitness driven, but now I decide to make a career of it. That's all great. But then I find myself in a fitness addiction. I went from my drinking addiction, now all of a sudden I can't seem to get enough exercise. I look in the mirror, it's never good enough. I get this whole, my whole body dysmorphia comes back from childhood of how I look and nothing's good enough and comparison and all that. So then I'm addicted to exercise and I get all crazy with that. Also find myself getting back into my eating disorders. I'm finding myself addicted to sugar now. Alcohol is sugar, so now I can't have alcohol. Well, now I'll have sugar. Well, if I eat too much sugar, I'm going to get fat, so now I'm back in my eating disorder. So I have, binging and purging and going through all of that, just trying to cope, just trying to get through life. One coping mechanism after another. And the exercise addiction and the sugar addiction, I believe, is then what shot my health issues way up, because the health issues that I do have, basically any type of overstress to the body and certain types of foods that can cause inflammation in the body, with sugar being the one, can cause anxiety, causes all kinds of things. I can do a whole story on sugar and what that does to the body. But anyway, the fact that I'm indulging in sugar as I shouldn't be, and I'm over-exercising and not giving myself any reprieve. I'm in this run, survive, using these unhealthy coping mechanisms, because believe it or not, exercise can be unhealthy if you do it that way, if you're doing it in a way that's an addictive way. Now I'm suddenly lost in all of that, and then that ends up, again, I hit another rock bottom. I went from drinking, I hit a rock bottom because my body couldn't take the alcohol anymore, found God again. So then I go to all these other coping mechanisms, land in bed, can't do what I need to do to cope. God's here, he's slammed me down again, so to speak, or just allowed myself to, it's actually, I don't think he did it to me, I did it to myself, but he allowed it to happen because he knew that if he would let me hit that bottom, if he would let me suffer, that God willing, I would call to him. And I did. I did. I heard him whisper and I called out and said, I'm stuck now. I can't even do these other coping mechanisms now. What do I do? So, now we're here, and the only thing that I can say, the best way that I can clarify the revelation that I have had on my spiritual journey is that no matter what I tried to do on the outside to try and fix myself, to try and cope, anything that I used to cope, some of them being healthy, even self-help books and doing different things to help myself. I mean, there's been good in there as well. But I still was lost. I was still just lost and always looking for something that was missing inside of me. Like there was some void, something that I was trying to fill with food, fill with alcohol, fill with things on the outside, things that are out in the world. And what I am now finally recognizing is the only thing that can fill me up is God. Like, that's where I get emotional, because it is so amazing that I've been running my whole life, trying to survive, trying to escape, and now I have finally found out that I don't need to pull anything from the outside. Everything that I need to cope is in here, because that's where God lives. He's in our hearts and in our souls. And I remember reading something, it was probably in the Bible, or like a Bible study, and I'll talk about that in a second. God designed us to crave. He designed us to have a need and to crave things. But again, let me rephrase that, not to crave things. He designed us to crave, but what we're meant to do is crave Him. And what we have often done is we get so lost in the world that we start to crave other things. We crave food, we crave alcohol, we crave social media, we crave the love of others, we crave, we want everything. We have this craving because there's something deep inside of us that's missing, and it's Him. He wants us to crave Him. And so what I've recognized is that now that I'm so heavy in my relationship with Him, He is my best friend, He is my go-to, He is here all the time. Now it's like those cravings that I had for eating disorders, alcohol, all these different things that I was trying to find outside of myself, they're just slowly disappearing. Like, I'm just finding this peace in my heart that I have craved my whole life, and I kept trying to fill with other things, work success. I mean, just, God, I can't, money, everything. There's just so many ways that I tried to fill that void. And what I'm finding out is that he's the only thing that fills it. And so that's the message that I really want to get out to everybody that I have the opportunity to meet in my life, to help them to understand that all of the worry that we feel, all of the cravings that we feel, the dissatisfaction, the void, the stress, all of that we feel is simply because we're living in this world that's outside of us, and we're not going in here and finding our peace, and the peace is inside of us. And so with that being said, what is drawing me closer to him all the time is the fact that, yes, I do pray all the time in my head. I talk to him. I don't make it some hard thing like we've got to sit down and do some special posture and say it a certain way. What I'm recognizing is the closer I get to God and the more I open up my heart to Christ, I'm just, the Spirit is basically entering me and telling me how to pray. I will recognize when I'm having thoughts of the insecurity or prideful thoughts or jealousy thoughts or these different thoughts, and then there's just this little gentle voice inside of me that helps me to recognize that I'm having that thought, and then I offer that thought up to prayer, give it to God, and I can let it go, because I can't fix that. I'm human. I can't stop the thoughts from coming. I can't be any different than what I am, but what I can do is recognize when I'm having something. I can be present, I can be mindful, and then I can just give that thought up to God and let him take it. So, God, that just takes the pressure off. I mean, I am trying to be Miss Perfect and trying to think I've got to do everything just a certain way to make everything go, and what I'm finally realizing is I can't. There's no perfect in me. There is one perfect, and that is God, and all I can do is just glorify him and give it to him and let him take it. And so that's what I do. That's how I'm really learning to find peace. But I've also really built a solid connection to the Word. And let me just briefly say, I want to completely own up to the fact that I have always been one of those that was like sort of anti-Bible. It's a history book. It's got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of words that I don't understand, a lot of names that I don't understand. It's like I couldn't even connect to the concept of it. And then, thankfully, God put some people in my life that knew about Bible studies. And there are some amazing Bible studies out there. There are people that are so blessed and have put their gift out there by building these Bible studies that are so they're so grounded in life, like in layman's. I mean, it literally walks you through the Bible and sends you to verses, and it helps you to understand it and explains it. And there's also Bibles out there that aren't written like the old time where it's thy and thee and somewhat confusing. I mean, for those people that want or need, like myself, a more layman's, there are Bibles that are written in a way that it is much easier to understand, and they explain, and I'm happy to give guidance on that, and as well as with the Bible study. But what I started recognizing is when I would spend that time in the Word, there would be times, honestly, that I would be sent to Scripture, and I'd be reading the words, and the words that I would be reading would be one thing, and I wouldn't really connect the words that I was reading to anything specific, but then all of a sudden I would just have this revelation of something, like completely, in my opinion, didn't even really relate much to the words that I was reading. But what I recognize is that when I just choose to take that time to be with the Word and be in that time with God, that just gives him time to work on me. It doesn't mean that what I'm reading in the Bible in that moment is necessarily even anything. But he's there. He's there with me. He is grateful that I took that time to be with him, and then he just shifts something inside of me. He gives me a thought. He gives me a revelation. More often than not, I actually do get some guidance from the word itself. Like I actually will read something and I will be able to apply it to my life and go, oh my gosh, wow, had no clue. I have literally had mornings of Bible study, and I do it every morning now. It is full priority of my life, because it's like when I wake up and I do that and I start my day, I've started my day educated, and I go into life and I just feel more empowered to live my life better, because I just somehow, no matter what time I spend with him in the Word, I always walk away with some gift of knowledge and growth. And so it's become a part of who I am now. And so that is really important. And if anybody does feel overwhelmed with the whole Bible study concept, I get it. I was that person. And I would be happy to walk anybody through it. You just start small. You go easy in the beginning. You just, just like everything in life, baby step it. God will guide you. He will help you when you start to feel overwhelmed with it. But just give it a try like anything else. If you don't try it, how do you know? That's what I did. I was overwhelmed. I was freaked out. I was like, what am I doing? This is just, I'm not a Bible beater. I was that person. And now I'm blown away, and that's all I want to do. It's like, talk about craving. I crave my time in the Word now. And that's an amazing craving to have, because I never walk away feeling guilty that I did it, or I never walk away feeling sickly from it. I feel amazing. So I'm going to take that craving and run with it. Also want to just say that for me, the hardest part, so in my walk with God throughout my life, I've always known that there's this larger being. I've always felt that. I've been connected to that. And I've gone to church here and there, and and of course when times would get really, really rough. I remember when my husband had his heart attack, and I was literally pacing the hospital hallways, just crying and begging and praying and begging everybody to pray. And so I've always leaned on prayer in times of need, which is wonderful, but I was still lost. I was still lost in addictions and unhealthy coping mechanism, and just lost. And what I recognized was that even though I was calling to God, and I'm glad that I was, I didn't let him in. I didn't really let Jesus into my heart. I was still in an outward space. I was always looking out here instead of letting him in. And so again, as I spend time in the Word, learning from the Word, learning about the life of Christ and what he did and what he was. I mean, he was literally walking love and peace and kindness. I mean, he was the most humble of humble. Going up to people that were diseased and helping them, prostitutes. I mean, the people that were broken and sinning, like me. I am that broken person. I have done and still do bad things. I have bad, sinful thoughts. I'm human. I'm broken. But as I'm letting Christ deeper into my heart, I'm changing. Literally, when they say that all God wants to do is make us more like Christ, the more time you spend with him in prayer, in just talking to him, in nature is God, the more we escape from the world, turning off the distractions, learning to be still, learning to be quiet. He is in the stillness. It's when we get more in that, he just starts to literally recreate and renew and restore. And it is the most incredible experience. I often find it hard to articulate. I definitely can't speak without emotion because it is so powerful. And I have shared it with friends of mine, and they feel it too. But you gotta let them in. I get that prayer is wonderful, and no matter how that works, God will work on you in his way. That's the thing. You don't necessarily have to do it. All we need to do is surrender and trust and allow. And once you do that, he does the work. It's off our shoulders. We're off the hook. We cannot be perfect people. We cannot not sin. We cannot be Jesus, but we can be more like him. And if we just open ourselves up to that, that's where that comes in. So you just allow it. You allow him in your heart. And I will say, for a long time, it took me a while to really get the Jesus connection. I was all about the God thing, but I was kind of like, I know Jesus exists, and I know he did some great things, but what is this Jesus thing? But now I get it, that I'm being resurrected kind of like Jesus was, because I was living a life of death, lost in unhealthy coping mechanisms, lost in addiction. And now I'm starting to be reborn into the greatest version of myself. And that's the Jesus connection. So for those of you that are out there that are just sort of like so-so believers, maybe you're like full-on non-believers. I've always been the so-so believer. I've not ever been the non-believer, but I've been a so-so believer. And I'm here to tell you that if you're a so-so believer, but you're still lost in addictions, in unhealthy coping mechanisms, in the craziness of the world, and just literally just feeling that void, the craving that's here, I will guarantee, absolutely guarantee, that if you will just simply allow yourself to open up, your life will change in the most incredible way. And I'm just going to put this out there. Maybe you are a non-believer, or you're a so-so believer. Can I just get you to ask yourself this one question? If you're watching this right now, could there be a reason that you're listening to my message and watching this right now? And then just go with that. Think about it. Ponder it for the day. And if there is anyone that really is feeling this kind of calling, or this overwhelming, like, I can't do it, and needs to surrender and wants help in that, I'm here. I'm here to hold a hand. I'm here to walk you through it. I'm here to talk you through it. I'm here to just support you and listen. I will do whatever you need. I've been where you are. I'm still on my journey. I don't want to say that I know all of this, because every day I am learning something new, and I believe that life is a complete journey until he calls us home. But we have the opportunity to grow and learn and be better, and I am absolutely loving it. And even when bad stuff happens, I don't even want to say things are good or bad. When difficult things happen, I have a peace in my heart, because I can actually look at that and go, oh, I get to grow from this. I get to learn from this. What do you want from me, God? Give it to me. And you have no idea what it is like to feel that, instead of being lost in self-loathing, self-pity, self-punishment, all of it. Oh, God, there is such a peace. So, along those lines, how have I really allowed God to come in? The biggest step in that, aside from the word and everything I've already talked to up to this moment, meditation, prayer and meditation. Another thing I'm going to openly admit to all of you, I was that person that has always mocked meditation, yoga, all of that. I used to be the person that was like, okay, hippies do that kind of thing. Go ahead and pass the peace pipe around. Maui, that whole wooey, gooey, whatever stuff. I was a non-believer in that world for sure. I thought meditation was a joke. I don't know, that's basically what I thought. When I started realizing that I needed to slow down, when my health basically shut me down, and I started recognizing I had to find balance, I started to figure out that I needed to kind of look into and investigate this meditation thing, and stop being so narrow-minded and judgmental, and actually look into it. So I did. I went on some meditation retreats. I did some different things. Still kind of was not super comfortable with it. And honestly, I'm going to say that the reason that in the beginning that I wasn't comfortable with meditation was, get this, Miss Perfectionist, Miss I'm not good enough. I just kept thinking, I'm not doing it right. my brain won't shut off. I can't get the noise to stop. I'm not doing it right. What am I doing wrong? It was always, self-punishment. So I went to one retreat, and I remember a guy saying, we were all doing it, and everybody's in their postures and this, that, and the other thing. And after we had done one of the meditations or whatever, I had expressed something. I don't remember if I expressed it to the group or whatever. But anyway, I remember a guy coming up to me and saying, there's no way to be doing it wrong. You're doing it. And that means that you're doing it. Right? So there's no right or wrong. You're doing it. And so whatever that is for you, just allow it. So I was like, oh my gosh, yay, off the hook. So that was really great. It was just great to know that there's not there's no rules to it. We live in this way of rules. Same thing with religion. Everything is all about rules. You do this, you do that, good, bad, whatever. And I don't believe that that's the way it's meant to be. I don't believe that that's even what God intends. It shouldn't be. Yes, He wants us to be good people and He wants us to do good things and whatever, but I do believe that sometimes we try and make things too rule-driven. And so in the meditation world, let the rules go. Posture is just about what feels comfortable for you, and that it's a safe posture. That your body feels comfortable, that if you need to lean on something, like in a chair, you lean back on something. You find a position that feels safe for your body, where you can relax into the moment. As far as the wandering thoughts of meditation, your mind is gonna wander, and some of us, like myself, have a mind that is literally just, it's buzzing almost all the time. And that is okay. That is just who we are. Our minds are meant to do that. It's how we're designed. What meditation does is it simply allows us to understand that a thought is just a thought, that we don't necessarily have to follow the thought and end up in some sort of emotional response to that thought, that it is just simply a thought. And so as you learn to meditate and be present with your thoughts, you start to recognize that they're just thoughts, and it's a way of just managing and just recognizing that they're thoughts. And again, it's just a practice. As you continue to practice and you're with your thoughts, you start learning that you are not your thoughts, and you allow yourself to be more in that present moment. You become more grounded in where you are in that moment. So if I'm meditating, or like even if I'm right here and if I'm not present, and if I'm in thought and my thoughts are in control of me, I could be right now, I could be sitting here and I could all of a sudden think of someone that just died recently, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be crying and I'm going to be sad and my whole body's going to have a response, and there's just going to be this reaction to this thought in my head of this person that died. But right now in the present moment, that no one died. I'm right here in the present moment, sitting here with you, with the animals, in this present moment. So that thought of that death that created all of that emotion and everything was a thought. It wasn't something that really is in this moment right now. So that's all that meditation does, is it allows you to be present. The more that you do it, you start to just recognize thoughts for what they are. And then what starts to happen is throughout your life, if you really embrace a consistent meditation practice, whatever that is for you, you just throughout your life, you start recognizing. I've noticed for myself, I don't react so much. I don't have overreactions to things because I'm able to be more present in what's really happening. My brain, when it starts to do its thing and starts thinking different things, I recognize that it's a thought, but then I recognize that. I'm not following the thought. I can realize, well, that was a dumb thought, and then I don't have a reaction to it. So it's just a way to be more mindful and present in your life, and it literally changes everything. So in the God world, how that changes everything is that it allows us to connect to God, to go inward, to be with ourselves, to be in the moment. God is in the present. God is with us every single moment of our lives, but He is in the present as far as being connected to Him and being able to hear Him. So if we're spinning all the time, if our brain is always bouncing around, if we're in this world of distraction constantly, we don't often hear the gentle whisper of his voice. We don't feel the guidance of our body telling us to go this way or that. Again, a gentle whisper of him telling us how to go, where to be, how to feel. Like it just, so that's where the meditation God connection comes in, is it's within us. All of the healing that we are searching for in our lives by coping, by finding ways to cope with life, is in here. All of the healing is inside of us. God is inside of us. God is our healing. We are all one and the same in all of that, and that's where meditation comes in, and that's why I find it so important. So again, on that, I'm still very new to it. I'm still learning, but I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm loving it. And so again, if anybody is in that kind of don't understand it, feel overwhelmed, afraid of it, whatever, and you just are curious, reach out on this. You can certainly make comments. You can message me anytime. I'm happy to guide you in that. I'm going to be guiding through these, live videos to just offer up as I'm learning what I'm learning and sharing it with you. So, anyway, I just caught myself saying and I probably said it the whole time again, and maybe I didn't. Maybe I was better this time. But you know what? I'm not going to judge myself. That's something I'm really needing to work on. Judgment, whatever. I'm here. I'm doing a good thing. That's enough. So, that was my talk for today. Just wanting to kind of share my journey. I know that we have spent quite a bit of time together, but for those of you that maybe haven't been able to get to church, maybe this was a time for you to have a little bit of a version of church because it brought you more of a connection to God in this moment because you heard my story. That's something I do want to just say, and then I'm immediately going to go into just a little bit of easy stretching, breathing, and then a guided meditation that we're going to do together that is God-based. Church isn't for everybody. I do think it's really great to have a church. If you can find a church, I have found one where I really have found some wonderful people, and I'm connecting and being able to do ministry with them and work through the community, and it's a wonderful place. But even if church isn't for you, that's something that I just really think people need to understand, again, is that church is what works for you. Church is in here. Church is your God. Church is your place of worship. Church is when you are taking the time to spend quality time with your Creator, with your Father, building your life in Christ. That is your church. And whatever that is, if that's spending time in nature, if that's spending time in meditation, if whatever that is for you, there's no judgment. There's no rules in that. I firmly believe that God just wants us to go there with Him, and that is worship, and that is church. So let's just take the rules out and just trust that all God wants is for us to need Him, to crave Him. And when we do give into that craving of God and just go there, oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it is better than any ice cream sundae or drunken binge that anybody could ever have, because I have had all of that and more. And this craving is the best. So that's it for that.